We can't say the future without AI. I mean, there's no way around it. 50% of workers now believe AI is going to improve their experience. When I come into the meeting room, I need a way to incorporate my AI with what's going on in the meeting. It's almost a bring your own AI type of a concept. Most of what we do in our day-to-day is going to change significantly.
Hear the latest AV trends and predictions in this episode of Crestron's Smarter Spaces podcast on your preferred podcast platform.
Our instructors, one of the things that they constantly are saying is that we don't have enough blackboards. So one thing we were thinking, though, that with some of these thin, transparent technologies, we were like, well, maybe we could put like glass whiteboards in front of it so that it can be a writing surface as well as a display. We'd have to put something in front of it because inevitably an instructor will write on it.
No.
Yeah, it's like the screens. Can you write on these? Yes, you can. Once.
Jerry, did you use permanent marker again?
I'm sorry, guys. I just grabbed
They're
the
big.
wrong.
This is going to open very big, Jerry. Okay, forget it. Let's all pretend Jerry wasn't born. And this is clean.
From DirectView LED, meeting technology, and oh my lord, there's a lot of people. All that and more next on AV Week. This is AV Week, episode 650, recorded from ISE 2024. Live from ISE 2024, part 1. This is AV Week, our weekly wrap-up on audio, visual, news and information. The biggest story this week, well, we're at ISE. That's why my voice sounds different if you're listening to this, if you're watching it. Holy cow, yeah, it's different. So with me is Erin-Maher Moran from Johns Hopkins University. How are you, ma'am?
Doing well. Still have a voice, which is amazing.
This is Thursday, so that's why, right? Okay. We're doing this strategically on Thursday.
Yes.
And also my buddy, Kevin Iselli from...
How are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, actually. Doing
Good.
well. For the first time back in public. Yeah, this is great.
Where'd they keep you for the last few years?
You know, I was in a desk, and we had this whole pandemic thing, and then I changed companies.
We had a pandemic?
Yeah, well, we did.
Okay. Well, let's talk. I'll do a little bit of commentary at the end about that. Just got done having a conversation with our friends at Infocom about that, and it was 4 years ago, almost to the day, that we were sitting in Amsterdam.
Yep.
And several companies suddenly didn't show up at ISE, and a combination of a pending pandemic as well as a weird weather thing that happened in England that year.
Yes.
Impacted the attendance, impacted the show itself. So we'll talk a little bit about the feeling of the show, the attendance. But Erin, first and foremost, you're here with HETMA.
Yes.
What is HETMA doing here?
Well, HETMA is, we pretty much doing all of the things. Like, we are really trying to kind of position ourselves in the, getting the higher ed vertical really out there and known. And strategically, partnerships and creating those connections. We hosted a happy hour yesterday, as well as some sessions in the Influencer Hub. So it's been a busy time for us, but good.
Since you and HETMA's producing quite a number of videos, you guys are interviewing folks. Eventually, I'm going to have one of you take my job because I'm also tired. But what are some of the things that you guys have seen? Like, what's impacted you, or what's been the biggest takeaway from ISE for you guys?
For us, it's been a lot of trying to find those products that are solving problems. Not just things that are like, ooh, it's pretty, it's flashy, it looks really neat, but it's like specific products that are solving pain points for us.
And have you found any?
Found a couple. So
Okay.
it's been good. There are definitely going to be some POs written once I return home, I have a feeling. Because, there are a couple items that I'm like, I need that.
And you and I talked about this beforehand. Without naming products, can you tell me some problems that you've been able to solve this week?
Yeah. Some is audio. Getting quality audio for recordings, especially in those situations where there are audience members in a space that might not traditionally be a space where we would do a streaming event or something like that. So you got to get a little creative because you don't have maybe ceiling mic in and stuff. So that sort of solution. And also kind of quick event setups.
Like pop-up events?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can be like, okay, we want this in the middle of a hallway. And we're like, yeah, all right.
Flash mobs. Sorry, that was like so. What,
So in
2011?
90s, yeah.
In 90s, it was at least 2000.
We watched clearly different TV shows.
We did.
Yes.
Mr. Iselli, is obviously being from Biamp, you have pretty much spent your week in one specific hall.
Yes.
But you also did a number of sessions as well, so you at least had to walk by some other booths.
I did, yeah.
What have you seen this year?
I've noticed a kind of interesting trend. A lot of the keywords now are immersive, right? Being involved in the space, being part of the space, being completely a part of the whole process, which is kind of interesting because I was thinking kind of the weird correlation is we seem to have been going down that road of AR, VR, and now it's like, how do we make the biggest set of VR goggles we ever can? Projectors, screens, like let's turn that whole environment into something that we enter as opposed to put it on. So it's been really fascinating to see the display technology that they're putting out there, what they're doing with it, the whole curving, the transparent LED. Yeah, those are some pretty impressive things.
I spent a few days at CES this year and went around with Patrick Norton, who's on the AVNation and CTI team, and he made an interesting observation that at CES there was transparent displays, right? And LG had one, TCL had one, Samsung, and the press and the folks attending were like, "Oh my gosh, they have transparent displays. They have direct view LED. They have." I'm like, "This is fantastic." And Patrick, who has traditionally been in the consumer space, right, most of his career, he looks at me and he's like, "Commercial's been doing this for a minute." He goes, "It's fascinating that whereas probably 5 years ago even, the consumer electronics arm of technology was driving innovation, right?
Yeah.
Now, and it's a pendulum, right? You and I have been doing this for a minute, Kevin.
Yep. You live long enough, you see both sides.
Yeah, and that pendulum is swinging back, right? It's interesting though, and Erin, I'm going to pick on you for a second. Whereas 3 or 4 years ago, people were clamoring to announce the death of the projector, right? Projectors are dead, screens are obsolete, or projection screens are obsolete. We've got direct view LED, we've got TVs and displays that are 100 inches diagonal. You don't need projectors. Do you still need projectors in education?
Still need projectors in education because of the thing called a blackboard.
Okay.
And our instructors, one of the things that they constantly are saying is that we don't have enough blackboards and we want more chalk in the classroom, which I absolutely cannot stand. Chalk dust is the enemy of technology, but we have to, a lot of our spaces, we still have to take into account, we can't take up wall space.
Okay.
So can't hang a display if you got to have a chalkboard there. So one thing we were thinking though, that with some of these thin, transparent technologies, we were like, well, maybe we could put like glass whiteboards in front of it so that it can be a writing surface as well as a display. But we were like, and a lot of those look amazing and stuff, and we were like, we'd have to put something in front of it because inevitably an instructor will write on it.
No.
Yeah, it's like the screens. Can you write on these? Yes, you can. Once.
Well, it's I've told this story before about the instructors who would bring in their own markers because they didn't like, because the college I worked for, we transitioned from blackboards to dry erase, and they would bring in their own markers because inevitably theirs would run out of ink, and they would bring in Sharpies.
It's a marker. It's a marker.
Right, yeah. And they were brand new, and they worked.
Once. Yeah.
Kevin, if you had to give this show, again, this is a bit unfair because we're recording this on the Thursday morning, right? So you've only had 2 days of a 4-day show. But if you had to give this show a theme, what would that be?
Oh, wow. A theme.
I have an answer, but I'll give you mine at the end.
Invest in BCAAs.
I don't even know what that is.
Branch chain amino acids, because it really helps the soreness and recovery. No, as far as a theme, I would like to say that it is definitely moving towards, and kind of it also showed in a lot of the conversations that I've been seeing going on, is the rapid adoption of AI.
Okay.
Which is kind of exciting, actually. I think it's a really interesting, and it's still a little bit, let's say, not really fully fleshed out tool.
Yeah.
But I do definitely see it as a tool, and I'm looking. Even my group, we're integrating it in a lot of different methods, a lot of different opportunities for us to use this tool, even for the betterment of training and education. So, like I said, I think that's kind of a big one that I'm seeing in a lot of the booth space.
Okay. Erin?
Well, I actually agree with AI being very much at the forefront. But one of the things we discussed that we knew it was going to be there, but it's not as in your face as we expected. We thought that like all the manufacturers would be like AI this and artificial intelligence that, but it's been pretty subtle. But it's not that they haven't used it. It's just that I think it's becoming more of a ubiquitous thing that they're not doing it for the sake of it being AI and something new. They're just like, we're taking advantage of, the new, kind of machine learning things and making something great out of it.
Do you think maybe, and by the way, my answer was also going to be AI, because I do agree that it's not in your face, but it is certainly there. Do you think that's the maturity, which feels really, really odd to say, only a year after ChatGPT was released to the public, but do you think it's the maturity of AI in the marketplace?
I think so, yeah. I think that, it does seem very fast.
Yeah.
But I think that has a lot to do with it.
Mm-hmm. One takeaway from ISE 2024 for you, Kevin?
One takeaway. Frame that.
Well, again, you're having I like this dichotomy here because Kevin is spending a lot of time in the booth. People coming to him, and I'm going to ask you the same question. But when folks are coming in, a little bit to what Erin was saying about what problems are they trying to solve.
Yeah. Okay, from that perspective, I actually was going to. The sentiment that Erin started with about solving problems, and especially with sound, with us at Biamp, that has been a real big ask, especially we have a AI noise reduction in our process in Tessera now, where when you first think about it, it's like, what is that going to do? It's astounding. I mean, the fact that the demos that we're even showing is you can actually see they have a work crew come in the middle of a meeting, and you barely hear the drill, and you barely hear them pounding on the walls because it's so fast and so adaptive to what's happening there. Again, as the tool, it is solving quite a few problems that we had in a space without hurting any or without being too critical to any specific discipline. It's like I always say, companies like Biamp, we exist because architects like things to look nice.
Yeah.
I use the word look specifically because it's got to look nice, but it also has a big impact on how does it sound. Yeah. And intelligibility for speech is so critical, especially now when you're doing remote learning or even the Teams and Zoom world, that I think oftentimes we forget about the technology that folks like Biamp we make to make up for those visual decisions that go into the spaces. And they're very important because that's kind of what happens is, I've got this conference room and I can't hear the other end, or, AEC and all the things that we have to put in as far as DSP processing to make those corrections so that you get back to a more comfortable level. And that's been a big ask.
Erin, what's one takeaway from this week?
Well, being that this is my first ISE, And everyone talks about the scale of it and how big it is and all the halls. And I have to say my biggest takeaway is next time around, I need to be more conscious of what I'm scheduling and where things are,
yes,
so
ma'am.
that I'm not running from one side to the other and, within a few minutes of each other. So scheduling.
Yeah, scheduling is a huge, and I say that somewhat jokingly, but also very seriously. Our crew, who we've got a great local crew that runs around with us, and even yesterday we were in one hall for the first half of the day, and getting from one booth to another in the same hall was difficult. Now, if you're ISE, that's a great problem to have, right? Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. It's a great problem having. I'm very happy for them because, again, 4 years ago we entered into this whole pandemic thing. It's very wonderful to see. I'm not saying it coming back, but because we don't have numbers yet. But it felt very much on Wednesday that this show has the opportunity to hit a very special, very specific number, which 2019 was their record year. I want to say it was 82 or 83,000 at the Rye. So again, great for ISE, really good for the vendors, because I don't know, every booth we went to yesterday was packed.
Yeah.
Right? And folks were excited to be back together. And yes, this is the third time around for ISE in Barcelona, but it feels very much like, okay, the first two times were a little bit of a, not trial run, but oh, you're really doing this. Oh, you're serious now. We're doing trade shows again. Oh, yeah, okay. And coming back in full force.
Yeah, and to support that, I think the fact that there's, over 1,400 vendors here?
Yes, it was also a record.
And think about the square footage it takes to do that. And as you just said,
83,000 square meters.
83,000 square meters, and like you said, it seemed there was people packed everywhere.
Yeah.
So to take it from no one's going anywhere to I can't move because there's so many people is astounding. It's great.
It's pretty great. All right. Erin, if this is your first time.
Yeah.
If you were to talk to someone in 6 months' time and they're like, you know what, I'm considering going to ISE in 25, why should they come?
Well, I would say that this is a unique opportunity. Like, it is a way to see things that you probably wouldn't ordinarily see, even at like InfoComm, where a lot of the same companies are have booths and stuff, but there is very much just a different vibe here, yeah. and I'm liking it.
All right, Mr. Iselli?
Ferris Bueller.
Explain that, please.
It's we've spent all this time during the pandemic and lockdown and everything of being behind the screen, mm-hmm. And it's really interesting because even from the workforce you'll see that people really love that remote work, mm-hmm. but then you see the social media aspect and everybody's like, oh, it's so good to see people, and yeah. And it's even better when you're now in an environment like this, seeing the things that you're actually trying to use for solving problems and getting that firsthand experience and exposure to them. So life moves pretty quick. If you don't stop and smell the roses, you might miss it.
All right.
Yeah.
Erin, how do people connect with you or HETMA?
Yes, you can find HETMA at hetma.org. We also, from that page, you can join our community. And we have not only higher ed members, but we also do have corporate sponsors, companies, friends, whatnot. Everybody can be part of the movement. You can also find me on the social media platform formerly known as Twitter at Smearin_off_ice on LinkedIn, and you can find me each month on AVNation's EdTech podcast.
That is true.
Excellent.
Mr. Iselli, you or Biamp?
Biamp.com, or you can reach out to me directly. First name, last name.
For me, for Tim Albrecht, don't follow me on any of the socials because I'm not very interesting, but go by the website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv, where you will find the aforementioned EdTech, State of Control, and a whole lot of other podcasts. All that and more at avnation.tv. It's avnation.tv.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Hi, this is Jennifer Goodyear
and Erica Carroll.
from the Women in AV podcast, where we are encouraged by the incredible stories of women in AV.
Listen in on fun, empowering conversations as we chat with inspiring women, breaking barriers and creating their own path in the industry.
Check out Women in AV on avnation.tv or wherever you get your podcasts.